Welcome to the Desperately Seeking Self podcast, the show that helps you up your confidence game so you stop settling for less than you deserve. I'm your host, Brooke Collins, speaker, life coach, women's empowerment enthusiast, and the best friend you never knew you needed. Are you ready? Let's get started. Juliana, welcome to the Desperately Seeking Self podcast.
Hi, Brooke. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
I'm so excited you're here. So Juliana is a nutritionist and mind-body weight loss release expert. So I actually, it's just weight release expert. You don't include weight loss in your title, but can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do?
Yes, absolutely. So my focus is primarily on helping women over 40 to regain their confidence and fit into their clothes by shifting their mindset in relation to weight loss, balance hormones, and eat real food. And that is my passion in my life. And that's really the focus of what I do every day. And really, the whole, I would say, weight loss industry, as we all know, it's a massive machine, right? That
Yeah.
in producing thought processes, ideas. And my mission in life is to sort of build a new model of care for women, especially after they hit their 40s and beyond, because their needs change, but also their value systems change. And I think there isn't a lot of, focus on that age in our lives. And there's so much amazing things we can do to really tap into that wonderful potential that women over 40 have and should be able to just enjoy life in their own terms. So that's in a nutshell what I do.
I love that though, because I do think that the 40 somethings is sort of a demographic that's forgotten. It's not, you're in the middle. You're not at the end, you're not at the beginning, you're in the middle. So I like that you focus on that demographic. What is it? And I'm asking for myself, just quite frankly. What is it with the hormones when you turn 40? Because I swear I turned 40 in May, and by June, I felt like I was crazy. Like I was sweating, and I month I couldn't sleep, and the next month I'm like sleeping all the time and exhausted. So, what is it that like turns on at 40 for women hormonally?
I like to kind of say there's almost like two main parts that I like to think about. The first part is what I call the compounding effect. So it's years, right, of putting stress in the body, of putting toxins and poor sleep and alcohol and sugars and inflammatory foods. So the body has like resilience. So if your resilience is greater than your stress, you're probably okay. When we hit 40, our resilience starts to decline because of the compounding effect of all the stressors. So the stressors start to become more noticeable. And that usually is coupled with very specific changes in our hormones as we age, which is really the focus of what I do. And when you describe going crazy, a lot of women also talk about, symptoms, right, of the perimenopausal years and hot flashes starting to become a thing. And that is really when your progesterone starts to decline. So that's the crazy. But also your estrogen is fluctuating like crazy throughout the day, right? So if you think of women normally when you're menstruating on a more cycle basis, you still go through, the PMSs and stuff when your hormones are moving around. Imagine if a lot of those hormones are moving up and down throughout that one day, right? And so when really get hit harder than others because you're shifting to a whole new you, hormonally speaking, as you transition into peri and then obviously into menopause. You're going to have a huge decline of hormones such as estrogen and progesterone. We're going to be the new normal for menopause, even in a healthy woman, are much reduced levels of those hormones. So then we have to start looking, what about your adrenal health? How is your thyroid status? How is your blood sugar and your insulin, to really be able to get a good picture of what balance and health looks like in that phase in a woman's life. Yeah.
I love that. So it's working from the inside out, basically.
Yes. Like menopause, which is where we're all headed, is
Ugh.
they're common, but they're not normal, right? Like the body's designed to thrive even at the later ages, but there's a lot of sort of pre-work that needs to be done now to be able to make that transition joyous and natural and healthy. Yeah.
I love that. So you have a new take on weight loss and you call it your she system.
Yeah.
One thing I love and I want to note, because I think that this is an underlying, I'm saying this because I think it's a lesson I'm supposed to be, the universe is like tapping on me, because you say release first, then lose. So instead of looking at the physicality of the weight, you consider the emotional as well as the hormonal aspects, right? That go along with weight loss. But when you say like teaching them to focus more on that, so you start your programs from an emotional space?
Yes. So I like to say that your perceptions dictate your biology. Okay. And
Okay.
a lot of times when you think about, so I'll give you a very practical example. If you are driving, somebody cuts you off and you get startled, you're going to have a huge release of stress hormones. So your perception of a potential danger trigger a hormonal cascade in your body, right?
Okay.
Our perceptions are able to modulate our hormones and many other things. So that's on a very physiological level, but also our perceptions and what I like to call mindset, and I call it the mindset or release, specifically as it comes to weight, and specifically for people that have struggled with it for a very long period of time, the more chronic weight loss cases, right? Um, Mindset is the gateway. And I think it's the missing key that some people are looking for, because we've all heard, and maybe ourselves, but you've also heard of friends that may have lost like 50, 60, 70 pounds. They look in the mirror and they can't see it. Everybody sees it, but they can't see it, right? Because you've done the physical work, but the mindset work did not go at the same pace, at least, even if you did some of that work, right? So it's kind of reintegrating the physical with the emotional mindset connection. And my process, the She System, starts with mindset.
I love that. I love, 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 love that, because I think that if we go at it from a weight loss only, which I have done multiple times, up and down, up and down, up and down, um, you don't, it's hard to stay at a healthy weight because the mindset isn't there. One, I myself have personally not seen weight loss what I actually look like, in the mirror. I've seen something completely different. So I understand that. And I think that women shedding the emotional stuff, what are you trying to fill? What are you trying to hide behind that weight? Is so powerful, and not enough. It is a machine, the weight loss industry, but not enough of those of your go-to weight loss sort of plans, I would say, look at Weight Watchers, look at Jenny Craig, all of those things. They don't focus on the mindset. Sure, they help you journal your food and log every morsel of food that you put in your mouth, which also leads to, in my opinion, another dangerous obsession and addiction to like
Yeah.
counting and writing and monitoring, and which I don't believe to be healthy either. Because my idea, and you can tell me, my idea of healthy weight wise, nutrition wise, is to eat foods that I love, um, that are good for me without having to worry about the amount that I'm eating and what I'm, to get to a place where it's like peaceful when I'm eating. I'm just eating to eat, not thinking of all the other stuff with it.
Yeah, my little thing that I say often, it's usually present somewhere in my talks, is that when you eat real food, nature does all the math, all the counting for you, right?
I
And it's
love that.
very true. And even in my signature program, sometimes I get asked questions, what about portion size? How much should I eat? And I don't have a restriction on portion size, because I do believe that reconnecting with the instincts, so how we were born to eat, supposed to eat, designed to eat, is more important. And if you're feeding your body nutritious, healthy foods, it shouldn't matter, right? It only matters if you are overindulging in alcohol and binging in the evening, which counts as, carbs and
Right.
blood sugar. But if you're truly sustaining a more holistic way of living, it shouldn't matter, right? But there's so much focus placed on it. And I think that is a big portion also the mindset, because I love to say that either food or your weight or both, they are performing a job for you. And that is just everything in life is doing a job, right? So if you're using food for comfort, for example, the job of the food is comforting you. The weight, I've seen, there's many examples, but one that commonly appears in clients of mine is that the physicality of their weight is how they connect to their family. So say the whole family is overweight and they feel if they were the ones to release all the weight and look skinny, quotations on that they wouldn't belong in the family, right? So whatever it is for you, the weight or the food is performing a job. So by simply removing the weight or simply removing the food, it's not enough, because what is going to do the job for you, right? If the mindset, the emotion is not neutralized and balanced, or what got you there in the first place, something's got to replace the job. And for some people it's alcohol, for some people it's smoking, for some people it's some shopping, right? So the
Yeah.
whole point is that we identify what the job is, we neutralize the need for the job, and then we can release the food or release the excess weight. But if all we do is say counting calories, measuring, it is just a temporary, it's almost like holding on an elastic band, those Thera bands from the gym.
Yeah.
And the more you hold, the more tension it takes to keep it there. And that's what weight loss tradition looks like. The moment you let go, that whole band snaps, right? And then you go back to square one, and sometimes even farther back. So that's really why the whole mindset piece influences how we look at food, calories, and all those things. And the freedom is not, in my opinion, on not eating certain foods or eating certain foods. The freedom is how we feel about the food, about the choices of eating, about the choices of what we select. And that's the place that I want to live my life from. And that's what I teach women as well.
I love that. I love that. And you release the power that those conditioned thoughts have over you about the food and the portion size. Because, I was just lucky enough to be on your podcast interviewed, but, it's really interesting when you look at calories, calorie counting, and the conditional thoughts around it. Like, we believe the things that we are repeatedly that's put into us. So it's got to be really hard for women at the beginning of your program to let go. Like, wait, no, but I mean, how much meat should I eat? Like, how much vegetables? Is it like 3 cups? Is it like 1 cup? I mean, that's got to be something that's really, really difficult for women to let go of.
Yeah. One of the strategies that I've been doing this for about 10 years now. And one of the strategies that I decided to incorporate in my work is that I give slight measurements to people and macros if they want to, right? I teach them to go beyond that, but I should provide them with a little bit of guidance in terms of what would that look like in terms
Right.
of having enough servings of vegetables, not so much from a restriction, but from an addition standpoint, right? If you were to hit count calories, this is the minimum. I don't want to go any lower than this, because some people still need to have that control. And I think that's fine. It's a good part of the evolution, right?
Mhm.
But it's really, if that's where we stop, I think that's when we're missing out. But by continuing to heal that relationship with food and your body, and really, feel your symptoms. This is your body talking to you. Health is not the absence of symptoms. Your symptoms is your body's vocabulary. So I teach people the vocabulary, right? And then you say
Yeah.
and you eat something and your blood sugar is off. You don't need to break a finger and let the meter tell you eventually, right? And that is, I think, so
Yeah.
powerful, is that connection that you're going to poop twice a day because your body just works like that now, as opposed to people skipping 2 or 3 days without having a bowel movement. So it's that the control that I think I help people get to is on the predictability of their bodies, because they're learning to work with the machine that we are, rather than against it, rather than fighting it or pushing it in every possible direction to get
Yeah.
results, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's, you know, the diet mindset, quite frankly, it's like exhausting. And I'm like, I am sick of it, even myself. You know,
Yeah.
and this time of year, I get real triggered by people with these New Year's resolutions. And I'm going to cleanse, I'm going to detox. And, you know, my husband and I love Arbonne products. We love the Arbonne 30 day to healthy eating. And I do it in January usually because I'm able to, it's real food. It's plant-based, you know, giving me without measuring and all that. It's a very simple way for me to reconnect with my body. Not that I need all the products that come with it. You know, the food is the most important aspect of it all. But it is really getting over healing I feel like I do this every New Year's, like healing the food story, healing the emotions that go around it, and how the diet mindset, we are so told, you know, go crazy from October 31st through for Halloween in the States through like New Year's Day. And then boom, now you're in the gym. Now you're eating healthy. Now you're restricting. And, you know, it's no wonder people don't last until February. I mean, what results are you going to see from 2.5 months of just pouring junk into your body, right? You're not going to, it's going to take weeks to see the results of the work that you put in at the beginning. And people just don't have that kind of patience today. So what advice do you give women when they're like doing your program and it's been 2 weeks and they're like, nothing's happening. The scale isn't moving. I don't feel any better. How do you help push them through those thoughts to get to better health?
Absolutely. So the literally step one of the mindset portion of the program, I get them to start to connect the why that they believe they want, the deeper why of losing the weight, with what is the most important, what I call inner priorities to them. Because inner priorities, like for you, for example, motherhood, you know, sometimes for people is their work and whatnot. If there's a disconnect between your inner priorities and the reason why you want to release the weight, I almost guarantee you that no matter what goal you set, because they're unlinked, it's not going to happen, right? And then February comes and it's done. So I start the program by helping them link the two. So that's step one. Then the second step in the program is that we look at motivation, from moving from the external style to activating the inner motivators inside of us. And there's a methodology that I teach for that. There's a blueprint. And a big part of that is setting realistic goals. And when you look back to the New Year's resolution stuff, people are setting fantasies. They're not setting goals because they're not
Yeah.
realistic. They're not connected to their priorities. There's absolutely no way, right? So that's sort of on the mindset piece. I help them link the two and how to not rely on external motivations such as the scale, because everything we measure is beyond the scale. It's how you feel, how, you know, do you feel bloated? Do you feel sleepy? Do you feel rested? Like it's a lot more about feeling your body, as well as setting goals that are internally driven, goals you can control and goals that you can get immediate results for performing the action, rather than losing 20 pounds. That's totally outside of your control, but you can choose to move, you can choose to drink water, you can choose to practice, you know. So we shift the focus to the inside by giving tools that you can control today, so that you feel that momentum building, rather than in 12 months, I'm going to get to X. That's too long. You know, we live in an immediate society and
Yeah.
we see immediate results, but it's what you call a result that I think is where the success lies. And part of what I do, there is the life coaching aspect of my program as well. So yes, people will hit roadblocks here and there. And that's when we go for like a power group session. And then I help them see it differently and maybe untangle something that they may have missed to sort of flip that page and get back on track. Yeah.
I love that. And it also blows my mind. Like it's going to take me a minute to wrap my head around all of that. I know it's possible. And I look at it, so it's like an intuitive kind of way to go about all of this with and the puzzles of the hormones and the mindset of the diet and the emotions behind it and the why you're doing it. So it's really putting together a puzzle for you to be able to be successful, because my New Year's resolution, I stopped doing them like 4 years ago because I
Yeah.
just realized all it did was make me shame myself even more than I needed to.
Mhm.
And I think that the most powerful thing people can do, I still love New Year, New You, because it's a new chapter and you can change and you can do a whole slew of new things. Anything is possible for you in a new year, but I think that consistency is key. And I have found in feeling good and listening to my body, consistency is the number one thing for me to keep um, things straight for how I feel about myself, and how I do listen to my body if I'm not getting enough sleep, if I'm having aches and pains that weren't there,
Yes.
like why, what am I doing differently? A lot of times, which I don't understand the science behind it, but a lot of times it's got to do with sugar. When I'm eating too much sugar, my body actually hurts. Like not just one slice of cake. That's not what I'm saying, you guys, but like when I go like weeks of processed sugar, right? Like look at the holidays, like cakes and cupcakes and cookies and sugary cereal and, all of the things, my joints actually hurt. It's like I can feel the inflammation happening in my shoulders and in my knees. Um, and I think that there's not enough, I don't know what it is. It's not science. There's not enough focus on the damage that sugar does. Because as far as I'm concerned, I might as well be drinking a fifth a day and I'm a recovering alcoholic, right? Like it does the same thing to my brain and it is powerful. And so when you tell people, because if you're eating a range of everything, do you want them to eliminate sugar?
Yes, and especially because, like we mentioned at the beginning, I focus on the 40 plus demographic. As we get into perimenopause and beyond, women become more insulin resistant. So, as our hormones change, so does our nutritional needs, right? And we're so used to being taught the more traditional approach, which may work from the ages of 18 to maybe 30, 35. But
Right.
get to that, mid to second phase in your life, sugar, because of insulin resistance that not most, but many women develop, we just become more intolerant to sugar, not just from an inflammation standpoint, but also how it triggers blood sugar. And if blood sugar is out of control, it messes up things like your cortisol. So your sleep goes, belly fat accumulates, you just feel lethargic, and the whole cascade of problems come with that, right? So my focus on sugar is more from the standpoint of helping facilitate that, change in a women's life, but also it becomes an easy way to remove a lot of processed foods from your diet, right? Because sugar is present in most of them.
Yeah.
You want to have healthy thyroid later in life, a lot of those toxins, even in food additives, can actually negatively impair thyroid function and it slow down weight loss even further. So my focus on sugar is from a scientific standpoint, but because we do the mindset work, concurrently, but a little bit first, the the job that the sugar used to perform of bringing comfort and just like soothing you and getting you through those phases, because now your progesterone is low and you feel crazy, we neutralize those emotions through using the mindset techniques so we don't rely as much on. So eventually the women don't even miss the sugar. We retrain our taste buds to not need the sugar. But if it comes to your birthday and you want to have a piece of cake, you're going to have a piece of cake. Like, it's not that this is like a, you're forever gone and this is
Right.
the end of it, right? But we focus on cleaner sugars, healthier sugars, knowing the impact it has in the body and not depending on it emotionally, like at the beginning, some people do when they come in.
Yeah, no, I can see the emotional attachment to it for sure. Just being in recovery, like if I have a scoop of ice cream, I crave it for like days, literally days. Like I want ice cream every day
Yeah.
for like a week before it finally dissipates. So to me, that's like a powerful sign that something isn't right, and I probably shouldn't be, ingesting a lot of it. But what do you think is the most important for women to recognize? Because I like what you stand for. I love that you stand for getting rid of diet mindset. I love that you want things to be holistic and natural, and monitoring that. But what is, um, you know, is it more important to focus on the mindset and the weight falls off for women over 40, or is it more important to focus on the hormonal puzzle and the weight falls off? Do you think it's important to like take the focus off of the weight?
I'd say the weight, the focus on the weight has different forms for different women, right? And the focus that I like to de-emphasize is the pride for the weight loss and all of those still unbalanced states of emotion, that make so you can use the weight as, a measurement if you choose a success, right? But I do de-emphasize it because as you release the weight and you feel better about yourself, some women, they don't change the number on the scale, but the curve soften because inflammation is down.
Right.
The water retention is down, so they feel better regardless of the number. So I don't truly care about what the number on the scale is for you, what your goals are. Not that I don't care, but it doesn't matter as long as you're getting the results and how you feel, right? So I think that is more important because you can still get a number on the scale down and not feel any better. And that's, in my mind, it's not good, right? It's not the goal here.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the other pillars that you said, I like to put mindset, hormones, and food as equal partners because one leads to the other leads to the one. But I do mindset as the entry point because I feel mindset is the one that most people know less about. Whereas we've been taught a lot of the eat, you don't know what's good and bad to eat, right? But we still make the choices. You technically know your hormones aren't balanced. You just don't know why. So I started mindset because that's the most, I'd say, a confused, more tangled one for women to understand, to open them up. I use
Mhm.
hormones to teach them what is actually going on because I think knowledge is power and knowing how your machine works is important. And
Yeah.
then food is the how, right? So it's kind of like a combination approach, and that's what the S, H, and E in the SHE system stand for. So we do all three concurrently, but mindset comes a little bit sooner, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm like totally enthralled with like, yes, yes, more of what you're talking about. Um, what is confidence? Because you asked me this question, I'm going to ask you, what is confidence to you?
Confidence to me, and I have, because on my podcast, I have thought about this a lot. So this is not just coming out of this is something that I've been, contemplating for a while. But for me, confidence is the acceptance of all pieces of you. And
Love
when I
that.
say acceptance, I mean, when you get to the point that you're not trying to change or disown parts of you, you accept all of them. I'm not saying that you're going to look in the mirror and maybe see your love handles and say, oh, I love you. Maybe you're never going to get there, but it's a neutrality, right? That you understand that your body is always doing what's best for you. It's performing the job to fulfill what's most important to you. And that is such a freeing place because if you want to change the body, you need to change the value system, not the body, right? The body is just meeting you where you are. And for me, that's what confidence is that knowing that all pieces of you are there because they need to be there for you to be the exact version of yourself today.
Phew, mic drop. Juliana, mic drop. That is, all of what you said is incredibly powerful, and will be like the quoted, in the Instagram, because it's
Love it.
incredibly powerful. Acceptance. And I love that you said neutrality, because neutrality is so important. When we take emotion out and we're just neutral, you've released power of certain things that prior to being accepting and neutral had control over you. And I think that's such a powerful piece of of the whole puzzle of women and body image and health, and especially 40 and over. I think it is a struggle for a lot of women. I've seen an influx in my friends, like the plastic surgery, like the Botox and the Juvederm and the, the cool sculpting and, all of these things that aren't necessary in, acceptance and accepting who you are, and being neutral to the fact that, I'm getting some wrinkles, I'm getting some saggier skin, like, okay, I'm okay with it, because it's based on how you feel. So I think you are fabulous. I
Oh,
really think you
thank
are
you.
fabulous. I think that your podcast is fabulous. I think that your programs are great. And for anyone interested in looking you up and joining a program, or trying to see more about you and your incredible Naturally Joyous, where can they find you?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you. First of all, I really appreciate it. So, my program is called the Weight Release Shift. And basically, I teach you the SHE system of using mindset to help you balance hormone and eat real food. And the best way to read more about it and find out about the program is going to program.naturallyjoyous.ca. I am in Canada, therefore the .ca, but it's program.naturallyjoyous.ca. And then you can read all about it and get a clear idea of what is involved and what it looks like. So that'll be the best place.
Okay, good. And then they can look you up. And do you have any Instagram, or are you social media? Are you on any of those platforms?
Yeah, primarily all the platforms,
Okay.
I would say. So Instagram, I'm at naturally.joyous. And another good place to find me would be on YouTube. And my handle is Naturally Joyous as well. And my podcast is called Confidence from Within.
I love it. And check out her podcast too, Confidence from Within, because she's had a lot of really, really incredible guests that have really helped a lot of people. So if you're looking for some more confidence tips, definitely check out Juliana's podcast, and we will link all of that in the notes of the show. And thank you so much for having me on your show and for coming on mine. I always say the power of two women uplifting one another and helping one another has the energy to change the world. So thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Brooke. I appreciate it too. I'm very grateful for this opportunity.
Thanks again. And everyone listening, wherever you are in the world, I hope you see your worth today and find value in who you are. See you guys next week. Thank you for listening to the Desperately Seeking Self podcast. Did you love this episode? Then head on over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. Also check out innovativecoachbrooke.com to join in on the conversation, access show notes, and discover all the awesome free content. And don't forget to join us next week for another episode. Thanks for tuning in.